the question is, what words do you choose and what words do you purposely say, that in my mind, I will never use that word, or I'm going to use this word because I don't think it should be that bad. I mean,
Right.
15 years ago, I don't think you could say fuck anywhere. And now, you know, with the story, I heard this 15-year-old, and I'm like, well, hello there. Thanks for sharing. You know, and so, I mean, I think it's a constant evolution. I mean, you look at 200 years ago what curse words were, and it's completely different from now. So, I mean, you're also talking about an evolution of words as well,
Sure.
beyond the misogynistic aspects, but also as a society, as we change, our words change. You know, so
Language is living and evolving.
absolutely. So there's so many different things to take into consideration in all of this. But I mean, like, damn it is just, it's not specific. But again, it's almost lost its cursedness. You know, I mean, it just isn't that bad anymore. So I'm interested to see in 20 years, is Black working on going to be a.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, in my group of people that I know, that word has lost an enormous amount of its, you know, shock and awe, so to speak. It's like, yeah, okay, thanks. So I'm intrigued to see kind of how it progresses.
Yeah.
What's interesting about I was going to say, that C word, which I don't want to say, is that it's much worse here in America than it is in England.
Yeah.
The word is, well, you would know. It's American specific. In other countries, it's not nearly as bad. People use it like we use the word bitch.
They hear it on TV.
Yeah,
It's pervasive. You hear it everywhere. It just becomes another word. You don't hear that, and if everyone hears like, oh, it said that on TV. You know, see you next Tuesday.
The interesting thing about gendered speech is that I constantly compare it to racial epithets. And gendered insults and denigration through gendered hate speech is more common as sort of part of regular language. But if you were to replace those with racial epithets, they would stand out so much more. And what does that say about our society?
Because we've said racism is so horrible, if we went back 150 years, I bet it would be the opposite. I bet that you would see a huge amount more racial words being used because it was more accepted at that point, and then something changed in the 50s and 60s as our society changed so dramatically. Now it's sort of moved on to the next area of, ooh, we can use this word to say that thing. You know, I mean, having grown up where I did, I mean, it was very clear at that point that there are just some words you don't say. You know, 50 years ago, probably wouldn't have been that, but you would never, I couldn't imagine, it would have been okay to say bitch 50 years ago, but I bet you could use words that I wouldn't use.
The N-word, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you could have said that, or, you know, no problem. So again, you're getting into an issue of societally moving from sort of one group in peril or being singled out to another.
It's not generational, I think, though. I mean, when I had my son, I had to sit down and have a long discussion with my in-laws from the South about words that they would never, ever say in front of him. And we wouldn't have the same conversation with my sister or my parents who grew up here. So it's location, and I think it's generational.
Regional, generational.
Yeah, I know when my sister, she graduated from high school 3 or 4 years ago, and we had my grandfather on my mother's side, who is going to turn 90, I think, this year. And he's a very nice man, but when one of my sister's friends from school came, and he and his sister are black, and he was at the party, and he said, in full hearing of this friend of hers, what's that colored boy doing here? I was like, oh my God. I mean, I was so embarrassed. But he didn't know why we were so upset.
Because at the time that he grew up and that his ideas were forming, that was simply the way it was. That was the normal accepted speech. Yeah. And kids today, you know, which I'm hopelessly out of touch with, but
You're not missing anything.
Not at all.
But you know, kids today throw around a lot of what is defined as hate speech on a regular basis. You know, calling each other bitches and hoes and that sort of thing, and using some racial epithets as well. Rachel? Why do I keep calling her Rachel? Who is Rachel? Why is she speaking this way? Racial epithets as well that would make me extremely uncomfortable to use them. So, you know, the language is changing and evolving. But the thing about television is, like the stage, what we see on TV pretends to be real life, but isn't, and needs to be held to different standards than, you know, what we talk about on the street. Because, like it or not, TV is creating an example. It's like advertising. Advertising doesn't sell you a product. They sell you a mode of life in which that product is necessary. So, you know, Swiffer is not about selling Swiffer. It's about, you need to have clean floors. If your life is to be complete, they need to sparkle. And so because you need this, we are helpfully offering you Swiffer to make that happen, so you run out and buy it. And television is just, you know, something that was created to fill the spaces in between advertisements. So they are also selling us a way of life. And because of that, because they are in the public eye like politicians, television needs to be held to a higher standard.
I'm just going to bring up the whole thing about commercials and selling the way of life, because I know we're going to get really tired of me finding this out. But for a lot of male-oriented products, you know, like the GR chicken mower, and, you know, power tools and stuff, they always have that one section of the commercial where, look, it's so simple, even a woman can use it.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Or the Harley commercial where it's like the Harley commercial with raw on it.
Oh, good Lord, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, they're like, I forget what the tagline is, but it's something about how Harley is so, you know, the gist is, your Harley is so awesome, she will have to sleep with you.
Well, it's I mean, oh my God.
That too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the woman's just sitting there waiting for him. It's man's revenge for the tampon commercials.
But anywho, does anybody else have thoughts to share?
Right, this goes back away, and I will never be able to find this study again, but I was on Review Celtics for a really long time, but had people on it who were working on advanced degrees in gender studies, so we got into a lot of gender studies on the list at the time. And one of the grad students was talking about a study that she had read where they had surveyed a bunch of 8-year-olds in the United States of, you know, asking the girls, how would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and you were a boy? And asking the boys, how would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and you were a girl? And the majority of the girls saw only positive in becoming boys. 10% of the 8-year-old boys said they would kill themselves. One 8-year-old boy said he would kill himself by setting himself on fire so his body would burn up and no one would ever know.
Oh my gosh.
This was, what was the study called?
Here. United States.
Well, I was wondering.
She was, yeah, she was saying she doesn't remember this source.
Yeah, I don't think that they said specifically where.
Yeah, it's, you know, it is, I mean, there are so many studies out there. This is such a broad field that we could, you know, talk all day and not even begin to touch on all the information that's out there. But, you know, so many indications of the fact that maleness is normalcy and femaleness is deviation. You know, the fact that women, studies show that women will watch TV programs and will read books that have male leads and heroes and stuff like that, but that boys will not read books that have female characters as the lead, or watch television shows that have female characters as the leads. That it is, you know, it is okay to women to be male, but it is not okay to males to be female. And why is that? Why is feminine, femaleness seen as less than in the society?
Thousands of years of patriarchal misogyny.
Might have something to do with it.
Boys are overly competitive and refuse to show any weakness.
But
And they
girls
consider
are-
emotions
Yeah.
or softness or any kind of differential from the pack as a weakness.
But why is that? Why is softness weakness?
Because it's
Like
female.
why is that different?
Because it's female.
Why is it female?
Because girls do it, guys don't do it. Come on.
And then we get into nature versus nurture, which, oh my God. So I'm gonna wrap it up right
Yeah.